everybody, I'm Amanda Hosenfeld. Welcome to Compliance Live. We have got a great show for you today. I am here with two of my very favorite people. We have the voice of ComplianceLine, Lucaya Brown. Welcome, Lucaya.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks. And also joining us again, the OG SanctionChat diva, Karan Robinson. Karan, welcome back.
Well, thank you. You're so very sweet.
It's a far cry from Sanction horror stories, which you both have done at other times, so I'm glad we're not going to be talking about as grisly material this time as we usually do.
That's right, yes.
Before we get started, Mark from accounting would like everybody to know that this podcast is sponsored by ComplianceLine, so thank you to ComplianceLine for offering this space for compliance and ethics related content.
Yes, thank you.
So what we're going to talk about today is sanction screening. So when you look at ComplianceLine's business, we have essentially two sides of our business. We have our hotline side and we have our SanctionCheck side. And we're expanding our business and building out into other ventures, but this is like the OG part of ComplianceLine is the hotline and the SanctionCheck business. And what I want to talk to you today is about SanctionCheck and sanction screenings in general. So we like to talk, and Kaylin and I like to talk about this, the information that we're going to give you. We're not here to sell you SanctionCheck. I mean, we would love for you to be one of our clients. We would love to talk to you about the SanctionCheck product, but we want to make sure that your business is protected from risks. And part of how we do that is through sanction screening. So Karan and Lucaya, can you tell us a little bit about what sanction screening is?
Well, for one thing, it's good common sense. These days, it is necessary to regularly screen employees, vendors, physicians, even volunteers, just anyone, any company that you come into contact with. And I can tell you that over the years, these standards have changed a lot. When I first started doing sanction screening a few years ago, most people did their searches once a quarter or once or twice a year. There were very few clients who actually did monthly searches. And now that is the standard. And as I said at the beginning, it is just good common sense to do screening to maintain your list and to ensure that you're not working with anyone who has been sanctioned by any list, for any variety of reasons out there.
All right, so that's my next question. When you screen somebody for sanctions, what are you screening for? Like sanctions against what?
There can be someone sanctioned simply because they haven't paid their student loans.
So like governmental sanctions. Okay.
Patient abuse, fraud, and those are just individuals that you don't want working for you or with you.
Okay.
So keep your patients safe.
Is there ever a reason that you would still hire or work with somebody that's been sanctioned? Is it an automatic like, nope, we're not at all doing business with somebody that has any sanctions on them?
They cannot receive payment from Medicaid or Medicare-funded programs.
Okay.
If you do employ someone who does have a sanction against them and you're aware of that, or you haven't done your due diligence, you can be fined by the government.
Okay, so the government can choose not to pay the entity itself for services because you are willfully employing somebody that you know has sanctions.
And they will fine you a pretty penny.
Okay. What if you don't screen every month for sanctions and something pops up? Can you still be fined for it?
Yes, because you have not done your due diligence.
Okay, so ignorance of the sanction isn't necessarily a protection against a fine.
Right.
Yes, it's risky to not screen your, rosters on a regular basis. Very risky.
What industries do we service or use sanction screening, and what industries should use sanction screening?
Well, definitely healthcare. When our company started, we were mainly doing healthcare screenings. Now, that's not to say that we don't pull in companies from other industries from time to time who, want the same services. almost 20 years ago, clients were searching names on a yearly basis, maybe every 6 months. It was the rare client that, even did it quarterly. But that has changed so much, and it's so important to, doing the screening on a regular basis.
Some of the states have made it mandatory, right, for monthly screenings?
Yes, some states have made it mandatory.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's do some thought exercises. All right, so, I am a compliance officer for a large hospital, and it should be standard process that I screen all of my doctors and nurses and orderlies and medical staff, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What about the same hospital has a food court, and that's outsourced to one of the larger food service companies? Do we recommend sanction screening those individuals as well?
Yes.
Okay, they're a vendor,
volunteers,
right?
yes.
Okay, so what's the thought behind the food service of the person that makes the sandwiches?
You simply do not want, and Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, but you just simply don't want any payment going to anyone who has been sanctioned. So it's important that you do your due diligence with vendors, physicians, volunteers, employees, and so forth. So whomever is receiving any type of payment, I would say needs to be reviewed.
Okay, vendors. What about people that work at the gift shop that are employees of the hospital? They need to be
Yes.
sanction checked as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
So this is a lot of people that
Yes.
sanctions are checked for
Yes.
every month.
Yes.
That is true. And the reality is that the majority of names in your list that are searched will come back just fine. Let's say you have a list of 1,000 names. If you search that, you may have 20 come back that you really need to take a look at. The possibility of there being an actual confirmed true match is very low.
Okay.
However, by doing these searches, you're doing your due diligence. You're attempting not to work with anyone who's been sanctioned.
Okay. We sanction screen all of our employees upon hire, and we do it monthly. But we don't take Medicare or Medicaid payments. So why do we search our employees?
It's just a good practice.
Sure. And to Lucaya's point earlier about vendors, we are a vendor for
Yes.
thousands of hospitals and medical providers. So it only makes sense that we are sanction searched as well.
Right.
How has sanction screening changed over the years? You said, it's changed in frequency. Like we search once a year or twice a year. Now it's a monthly or mandated monthly by the states. But just the process of sanction screening, how has that changed?
The databases have increased
Exactly.
significantly in the
Yeah.
state
All right, so
Medicaid
tell us about
list.
databases. What do you mean databases?
Most people search what we call the main four national databases. That's the Office of Inspector General, System for Award Management, and the OFAC, Specially Designated Nationals and Blocked Persons List. There are 2 OFACs. So that's the main 4 that are searched. However, many of our clients search several states as well. The list of databases out there are just growing. Quite a few years ago, only a couple of states had databases. One was Texas, Pennsylvania. So now just about every state has a list that, we can check, that we can refer back to.
So just to be clear, the federal government has essentially 4 lists of sanctioned individuals, and then each state can have a list of sanctioned individuals.
Yes.
And what sanction screening is essentially bumping your list of names up against those lists of names to determine whether somebody's been sanctioned.
Yes.
Okay. Do we do that manually? We have just a room full of
Machines.
you guys just kind of flipping through clipboards, and your wall is, I'm just imagining this, your wall is full of clipboards, and you're like, all right, who's got the Texas clipboard? And there's just thousands of pages that you're flipping through every single name. That's the way it is, right? That's the way,
Yeah, that's exactly.
that's exactly the way you do it.
That's how it is. Yeah. No, actually, most of our clients upload their files directly to the SanctionCheck website. The SanctionCheck website or the database runs the search. It does the initial search to determine if there are any flagged names that should be returned, any potential hits, basically. And that would be names that are common. There's some similarity between the name that's searched and the name that's actually sanctioned.
So if you have a John Smith on your payroll
Oh, yeah.
and you search and you get 4,000 John Smiths that have been sanctioned across
Yes.
the federal government, you have to dig a little bit
Yes.
deeper into that John
Yes.
Smith, right?
Yes, that's correct. And we dig deeper by using the information that the client provides to us, whether it be social, DOB, MPIs, license numbers, to determine if that person is an actual confirmed match.
Okay, so there's like layers of investigation
Yes.
when it comes to this. It's, does the name match? If that's a yes, then okay, does the social match?
Yes.
And if that's a no, then hey, no sanction.
Yes,
But if the social matches,
that's confirmed.
right, that's a confirmed match.
Yes.
What about like people with like really long names with a lot of hyphens and juniors and things like that? Like our system still is able to weed those out, correct?
Yes, you can enter first, last, former, maiden. So in entering all of those names, you will have more returns. But yes, you can enter all of the names that an individual has.
What if a company doesn't have a lot of that information? Is it easier or harder to knock somebody off the list?
It's very difficult. Yes.
The more information we can get, the better. Going back to the machines and uploading the files, the SanctionCheck process is both, technological and manual. It starts out with the technology, with bumping those names against all of the databases. And it is really a one-stop shop because with one click of a button, really, we're uploading files and they can run up against every single database we have, if that's what you would choose to have. But once the potential matches come back, then we get down to the manual, to the nitty-gritty, where we have to go in and look at names, and we use the variety of information that we're given in an attempt to rule out the names, whether it's the birth date or the social NPI number. Occasionally, we will come to a name that we cannot rule out 100% with what we're given. And we have to ask the person to sign a waiver form stating he or she is not the sanctioned individual.
So the first kind of check the box is more or less automated. Like, does the name match against the thousands of databases that we have, depending on your package with us or whatever.
Yes.
And then it becomes a little bit more in depth as to, well, I can't rule them out by social because I don't have it. I can't rule out by physical address because, person can live in multiple states
Right.
and be sanctioned in multiple states.
Right.
And then ultimately, if you get down the list of all the information that you have or are able to get, if it's determined that I still can't rule this person out, that it's not like, oh, well, we tried. There's an attestation that goes
Yes.
along with that.
Yes. And one thing we like to point out, typically when we're talking about SanctionCheck, is just because a name comes back, it doesn't mean that it's your employee. There have been times when a client has jumped to the conclusion that this is my person. Oh my goodness, I must suspend him or her. And that's really not the route to go.
No.
We make every effort to rule out. So that's just to say that even when something looks like a match, and pretty much seems to be a match, that all of us, we still have to go that extra mile, just to ensure that, we're not falsely saying that someone is sanctioned.
Yeah,
But
because
again, that's a
same-
good collaboration between the client and between.
Yeah, I mean, the same way you do your due diligence to make sure that someone is not sanctioned, you want to do your due diligence to make sure they're not actually a confirmed match. There have been so many, like to what Karen was saying, oh, well, then I'll have to fire them. No, they've just been flagged. We're just unable to rule out based on the information that's been provided either by the client or by the sanctioning agency. Doesn't mean that they're actually confirmed. So just please do your due diligence with that.
So it's kind of like watching America's Most Wanted and seeing an Amanda Hosenfeld on there. Like, wow, how many people have Amanda
Right.
Hosenfeld as their name?
Right.
And it turns out I'm not on America's Most Wanted. It's
Right.
another Amanda Hosenfeld.
Exactly.
But
Sure it is
we don't,
Amanda.
Compliance Line's not going to be like, Amanda Hosenfeld, you were on
Yeah.
America's Most
Yeah.
Wanted. Let's go ahead and suspend her or fire her
Right.
without doing that extra
Right.
level of review.
Yes.
Just for the record, I've never been on America's Most
That is
Wanted.
good to know.
You're welcome for that piece of information.
I'm
Happy
sure it
about
would have
that.
come up in the SanctionCheck, that's done monthly here.
Right. Yeah, it would have, wouldn't it?
Hopefully.
So let me ask a question. Our SanctionCheck staff never makes like a hiring or a firing recommendation, right? That's kind of beyond our
We don't.
No, we
do
do
scope.
not do that.
Okay, why not?
It is up to the client.
Okay.
It's they take it from there. Once we do our part and we let them know, this person is confirmed, or it's up to them to determine what steps need to be taken at that point.
Okay, that's up to your like HR and legal department.
Yes.
And so our
We're-
clients will never call us and say, "Hey, do you recommend firing?"
They do. They
They
have.
do, they have, okay.
They have.
But we don't, because we are a third-party
Right.
company. And, we simply do not get into that area.
Sure, yeah. I wouldn't want to mess with HR if I
No.
didn't have to, right?
No.
When a company sends their list over, how long does it take for our account managers back there to pull all the clipboards off the wall and start thumbing through the state lists?
If the file is in the correct format, just a matter of minutes. And many of our clients do upload their own files now. For security reasons, it's better that way. We're not housing
Yes.
any of their information in our
Well,
system.
that's good to know, like for
Mhm.
social security numbers and names and things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can upload their own files actually, and then the account managers will receive an email letting us know when the batch is ready for our review. And at that point, we'll take over and look at any flag names or any, pending review names, and then kind of go from there.
Okay. Do clients ever do this themselves?
Yes, we do have web clients as well, and they complete the whole process from beginning to end.
What we like to do is tailor the SanctionCheck needs to the client. So, if you have some employees who are savvy with the internet and working with Excel spreadsheets, and you have the manpower, then the web is it's a good program. If you would rather have us do more of the work, then we will do that for you.
Okay.
So we let you design it the way you want it to be.
Okay. So let's talk about quality. Like we said at the jump of this program that we don't care who you use for your sanction screening as long as you're being careful about your employees to avoid risk. But what makes SanctionCheck a different program than any of the other programs that somebody could use to check sanctions?
First of all, we have a turnaround time standard. We understand that you need your results as soon as possible. If you send us a file of 50,000 names, Amanda, just the fact that it's 50,000 names, that's not your problem. That's for us to run and take care of and get these names through SanctionCheck and, finished up just as if it was a list of 50 names. We do have a turnaround time that we adhere to. And another way that we ensure quality is we actually go behind each other several times a week and, check to make sure that I didn't rule something out that should have gone back. And find that this is a very effective way of keeping the quality true.
So it's like a teamwork atmosphere. Like
Oh, it's definitely teamwork.
Quality is
Yes.
the most important thing
Yes.
to avoid risk.
Quality, great customer service, and outstanding turnaround time.
What is your turnaround time? Like what's general?
For the larger files, which what is it, over 50,000 or 100,000?
I believe over 50,000.
So it should be a week.
Yes, I think
it
so.
should be
For
a
the
week
first time,
for the first
especially.
run.
The first time a brand new file is uploaded through SanctionCheck, that first time is going to take a little bit more time because our SanctionCheck has never seen those names before. And this is one thing about SanctionCheck that a lot of people don't know. But once you get started, once you do the first upload and you work through those names, the next time you run the search, it's just going to be better because SanctionCheck takes into consideration the work you've done. If you upload 50,000 names and you get 2,000 back and you work through those 2,000 names and you dig into all of these names and rule them out, okay, what's going to happen next month when you upload the file again? Those people are still sanctioned, so those same names will come back. However, SanctionCheck will not return the names that you've already ruled out.
So it'll still process them, but it'll say, oh, they already checked us off last time.
So these are flagged. These were flagged last month, so they're now master flagged this month.
Okay.
Yes. Now, if there is a change, if there is a new sanction, a new piece of information added to the record, then it will be returned for review.
Because there's more stuff to look at, right?
Exactly.
So it's like building a house, right? Every day you go to the work site, you don't have to build the foundation again.
Exactly.
You've already got your
yes.
beams, and then pretty much the house will never be completed, right? That's not the way that analogy doesn't work very well, right? For SanctionCheck, but like you don't have to start.
Yeah.
Well, because you're always adding it and improving
Yes.
it, and your meaning your list is always
Yes.
Yeah.
coming around that was actually going to be one of my questions is if you send a 50,000 name list in January and you send that 50,000 name list again in February, except it's 50,002 names, like, are you starting all over again? So the answer is no, that's not what, our system captures the information unless there's new information to review.
Yes.
That's correct.
And actually, this is one of the ways that we've changed over the years. We're changing all the time, really. But years ago, we did not have the master rule out, so the same names really did come back every time that the search was done. Now, of course, it was a lot easier then because we weren't doing monthly searches for the most part.
Okay.
We were doing 6-month
Clipboard searches in the background. Got it.
You're stuck on these clipboards.
I love the clipboards so much.
Well, we had a client who had a suggestion, and we took that suggestion, and it has turned out to be one of the best things we've ever done. This client would have the same 6 names coming back every month. Okay, 6 names. So most people would say, this is nothing. All I have to
15
do,
minutes of work every
let
month.
me just
right?
rule these out. I've ruled them out last month and the month before. All I have to do is check ruled out, and I'm done. But he said, why should I have to rule these out every month? And, he brought that to our attention, and the powers that be made the changes.
Yeah, you're right. Why should you have to?
Exactly.
He was right. His time was important, and he, felt strongly enough about it that he spoke up. And we really appreciate that because I can tell you many thousands upon thousands of people have benefited from this particular client who had a suggestion. And, that's how the master batch was born. And I, too, am grateful because
very grateful.
we would be doing a whole lot
Yes.
more work if it wasn't for that master batch.
Because every name that was ruled out previously would have to be ruled out
Re-ruled
again.
out.
Yep. Every name that was flagged previously would have to be flagged again.
So,
But not anymore.
We were building that foundation every day, and thank goodness,
Yes.
that has changed, and now we can concentrate on the wallpaper or
Yes.
the
the
painting.
flooring.
And that's kind of the neat thing about being a boutique service like that is that we can take those suggestions and we could say, hey, that's actually it's a really great idea. I'm going to pretend that it was my idea and build a whole new program around it. Yes, right?
And clients are just really good about coming up with ideas. So if anyone out there is using SanctionCheck and you have some idea or some suggestion that you think would make things easier or better, let us know. You never know. It might be something that turns into a game changer for all of us.
What would you say to somebody that is not a SanctionCheck client about sanction screening. So not specifically about our programs, but about sanction screening in general. Like, what's your number one piece of advice for individuals who have to do sanctions every month?
Do it.
That's it. That's your tip.
Just
do it. Okay.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Not to,
That's copyrighted,
okay,
Karen.
yeah,
No.
okay.
Did I say that? I meant
Yeah, I
to
didn't mean
say,
to say
I was
that.
gonna say, just do it diligently.
yeah.
that's what I meant.
Yes.
Just do it diligently.
Okay, got all right. That's
Yes.
marketably different.
Okay, yes, just do it diligently.
It's very important. You do not want to employ anyone who has been sanctioned. Not only because you could be fined, it's just not. For example, if someone has been sanctioned for patient abuse, you don't want them working in your hospital or in your healthcare facility. You just don't want that. So it's very, very, very important.
Okay.
Right. And you certainly don't want the fines because
Right.
they can go up into the millions and millions of
Yes.
dollars. And, you want the peace of mind that doing these searches on a regular basis brings. And it really does.
You know, we did an episode a couple of weeks ago on risk, about risk assessments, and this is definitely one of the things that you look at for your company is, am I employing people that are going to get me in trouble on a federal or a state level? And if the answer is, I don't know, maybe, then you might want to look into doing sanction screenings.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to do. There are no downsides, really. There are no downsides to doing the sanction screenings, especially when there are several options, not just tooting our own horns here, but we do have the service where we'll take the bulk of the work and do it for you, or we have the web where, you internet savvy employees can just take that ball and run with it.
And that service is from beginning to end.
Right. How can people get in contact if they want to talk more about SanctionCheck?
Sign up, put the name on the clipboard.
Put your name on a clip. Karen, please come back every time and make jokes like that. Yeah. Okay, put your name on a clipboard.
Okay. Yes. Actually, just email sales
Sales
at
ComplianceLine.
yeah, sales at ComplianceLine.com.
Okay. Do we
We
do
have some good
demos or?
yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes.
So it's like kind of like a no obligation. Like if you want to see.
Right.
Also, just want to mention really quick that I have put in the show notes. I'm going to point down because your show notes are generally down if you're listening to the podcast or on YouTube.
Okay.
I've put a link to all of our old sanction chats. So if you want to go and you see how Karen expertly walked us through how to screen through names and what SanctionCheck looks like, you can absolutely go down there and take a look at that link.
Okay.
Please come back.
Have us back. We enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah,
I always enjoy you.
Thank you. I always like to have guests in the studio to show off everything, but then also new faces are always a pleasure to deal with. So please come back anytime.
Yes, we're glad to spread the knowledge that we have.
Yeah. If any of our listeners have questions, reach out to sales@complianceline.com, and we'll get you in touch with one of our, I'm counting the seats in the office, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4 SanctionCheck account managers.
Yes.
Who can help you or demo for you or walk you through our resources.
We'll be glad to do it.
Next week we'll be dropping a mini-sode, a fun-sized mini-sode that's not so fun to talk about. We are talking about the Prison Rape Elimination Act, the PREA Act. So Kaylin and I discuss PREA and what that means to prisons and juvenile detention facilities and military correctional institutes. So check out that episode. That's going to drop next week. Additionally, follow us on all of our social media. We are on Twitter @ComplianceLive and on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn @ComplianceLine. There you're going to find some great resources, tips, tricks, articles, and just a little preview of some of our upcoming episodes, but also of the fun that we have here at ComplianceLine and our wonderful culture around here. So check out our social media.
I'm learning a lot about the different topics that you and Kaylin talk about here.
Oh, thank you.
So
I didn't know you were a listener. That's so kind of you. Just if you're not watching on the camera, I'm blushing.
Oh my gosh, you are so silly.
you are silly, yes.
We enjoy bringing content, especially, sometimes our content can be really light and sometimes our content can be really heavy. Last week we did a dating in the workplace content. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
But next week is going to be not so fun. So thanks for lightening up the show, Karan and Lucaya, before next week's really heavy one. So come back anytime for Compliance Live. I'm Amanda Hosenfeld.
Lucaya Brown.
Karan Robinson.
And stay compliant.